Hello again. Anybody under the age of 40 will probably take it for granted that they're going to break a fingernail from time to time trying to remove the tamper-proof packaging from a bottle of mouthwash or some other jar or container. Even a bottle of tomato sauce cannot simply be bought and then squirted onto chips, of course. The lid must first be removed and a fiddly membrane peeled off. This kind of annoyance is so universal today that we hardly even notice it. All foods, pharmaceutical products and so on, they all seem to have some sort of sealing, usually made of plastic, which is hard to remove around them. It's difficult to believe that 30 years ago one could buy a bottle of sauce or mouthwash and simply open it and use it with no more ado. The name of the person who single-handedly created an entire industry, that of tamper-proof packaging, has long been forgotten. It's time to celebrate Rodney Whitchelo, one of those people who changed the world for good and made it a more irritating place for us all in the process. Because it is so common now, most of us never stop to ask why a bottle of mouthwash should have a piece of clear plastic shrink wrapped around the cap. Is it to protect children from guzzling mouthwash as though it was soda pop? Hardly, because after we remove the plastic, the mouthwash simply sits in the bathroom next to the toothbrushes. Anyway, there's a child-proof cap on it which takes considerable dexterity to remove. It's a bit of a mystery. What about all those other bits of plastic on jars and so on? Are they supposed to keep the contents fresh? But no, they've been sealed already so that air and germs may not enter. The answer to this conundrum is to be found in the activities of a former Scotland Yard detective called Rodney Whitchelo. After leaving the Metropolitan Police in the mid-1980s and getting a job as a security man, Whitchelo decided he could use his police experience to great effect by committing an undetectable crime. The perfect crime, or so he thought. He started by targeting the pet food manufacturer Pedigree and threatening to poison some of their dog food if they didn't pay him a large enough sum of money. And he would then place the poisoned tins on the shelves of shops. Then he decided to focus instead on Heinz and began buying jars of baby food, which were not sealed at that time, and putting broken razor blades and poison in them. He would then, in a kind of reverse shoplifting, surreptitiously replace them on the shelves of the shop where he had purchased them. He had ambitions to secure millions of pounds through this scheme, which was meticulously constructed. Some babies were hurt, some nearly swallowed bits of razor blade, others were poisoned. None died, however. Because he still had friends who were serving police officers, he was able to keep up to date with the investigation, and that enabled him to avoid detection for quite some while. Heinz had to remove £30 million worth of baby food from supermarkets and chemists and saw their share price plummet. When he was caught, Rodney Whitchelo was sent to prison for 17 years, which was designed to be a stiff enough sentence to deter others. However, this seemed such a simple and lucrative crime that others got in on it. A name was coined for this, consumer terrorism. It was quite popular actually in the late 80s, early 1990s for a while, but Rodney Whitchelo kicked it off. The result is a situation as we know it today, with almost every item we buy either covered in plastic or otherwise sealed, so that consumers can see at a glance if it had been opened after leaving the manufacturer. Rodney Whitchelo is one of those people whose names are unknown to the general public today, and yet whose actions have genuinely transformed the world we live in.